Not long ago, Donald Trump and Elon Musk formed an unlikely alliance. Politics and tech colliding at the highest level. It was a partnership that few could have predicted, yet it quickly became one of the most talked about relationships in American power circles. The worlds of business, innovation, and government suddenly overlapped in ways that felt both thrilling and unpredictable. The showman president and the visionary CEO, both masters of social media, suddenly seemed unstoppable. Their tweets and posts dominated headlines, shaping public opinion and setting the agenda for both Wall Street and Washington. Together they commanded attention, blending spectacle with strategy. Their partnership peaked during the 2024 election, with Musk pouring $275 million into Trump's campaign. The donation was historic, signaling a new era where tech titans could directly influence the political landscape. Crowds cheered, and pundits speculated about what this meant for the future of American democracy. In return, Musk became a top advisor, charged with making government more efficient, a role seemingly tailor-made for him. He brought Silicon Valley's ethos of disruption and innovation to the halls of power, promising to streamline bureaucracy and inject fresh ideas into old institutions. For a while it worked. Musk was in the White House, Trump had tech credibility, and both enjoyed the spotlight. Their collaboration was hailed as a model for public-private partnership, and the media couldn't get enough of their dynamic. This was more than lobbying, it was a fusion of political and technological power. Policies were shaped not just in back rooms but in public, with both men leveraging their influence to push bold new initiatives. Musk wasn't just advising, he was shaping policy, pledging even more money for the 2026 midterms. His involvement blurred the lines between donor, advisor, and policymaker, raising questions and eyebrows across the nation. The message was clear. Musk was now a political force, not just a CEO. His speeches drew crowds, his endorsements swayed voters, and his vision for America was suddenly part of the national conversation. Their public praise and joint appearances made it look like this partnership would define Trump's second term. The two men seemed inseparable, united by ambition and a shared sense of destiny. But in the world of power, alliances are fragile. Behind the scenes, tensions simmered as egos clashed and priorities shifted. Even the strongest partnerships can shatter overnight. All it takes is a single disagreement, a moment of mistrust, or a clash of visions. The Trump-Musk bromance was about to face its first real test. Rumors of discord began to surface, and the media watched closely for signs of a rift. What started as a game-changing alliance was on the verge of unraveling. The stakes were high, and the consequences would ripple through both politics and technology. And the fallout would be felt far beyond the White House. The entire nation, and perhaps the world, would soon witness the impact of this fractured partnership. Every drama has a turning point. Sometimes, it's a single moment that changes everything. A decision, a document, or a bill that tips the scales. In the world of politics, these moments are rarely quiet. They arrive with a bang, not a whisper. For Trump and Musk, that moment came in the form of a massive Republican tax and spending bill. It was supposed to be a crowning achievement, a show of power and unity for the party. The bill promised sweeping tax cuts and ambitious government projects, standard fare in Washington. But when Musk pored over the fine print, he saw something that made his blood boil. Hidden beneath the headlines were loopholes, ballooning costs, and reckless spending. The Congressional Budget Office, the nation's fiscal watchdog, estimated the bill would add a staggering $2.4 trillion to the national debt. The numbers were impossible to ignore, and the implications were even more alarming. Musk, who had been brought in as a reformer to cut government waste, saw this as nothing short of financial insanity, a direct betrayal of everything he'd been fighting for. The bill was the antithesis of his mission. Outraged, Musk didn't just voice his concerns behind closed doors. He called the bill a disgusting abomination, and took his fight public, urging his millions of followers to rise up and oppose it. His words spread like wildfire across social media and news outlets. This wasn't just a private disagreement anymore, it had exploded into open warfare on Trump's signature policy. The rift was impossible to hide. Musk's public assault drew a clear line in the sand, forcing allies and enemies alike to pick sides. The political landscape was suddenly divided. The alliance that once seemed unbreakable was shattered. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown, with both men preparing for battle. Trump now faced a direct and public challenge from his own trusted advisor, a confrontation that would test both men's resolve. The much-publicized bromance had officially ended, leaving only bitterness and suspicion in its wake. The fallout was swift and brutal, headlines screamed of betrayal and the political world braced for the consequences. Musk's rebellion, he insisted, was about principle, about doing what was right, no matter the cost. He stood alone, but he stood firm. But in the ruthless world of politics, motives are always questioned, and every act of defiance comes with a price. Trump doesn't take public criticism lightly, especially when it comes from those he once considered allies or partners. For him, loyalty is everything, and any sign of dissent is seen as a personal betrayal. So when Elon Musk publicly criticized his administration, Trump lashed out almost immediately. He accused Musk of acting out of purely selfish motives, suggesting that Musk's frustration was really about losing lucrative government subsidies for Tesla, implying that Musk's principles were just a cover for financial interests. The White House quickly joined in, painting Musk as an ungrateful billionaire who had turned his back on the administration. They claimed Musk was fired from his advisory role, though Musk insisted he had resigned in protest. The public back and forth only fueled the drama. Trump didn't stop at policy, he made it personal. He openly mocked Musk, even ridiculing a recent black eye Musk had suffered, turning the feud into a spectacle for his supporters. But then, Trump raised the stakes. He threatened to review, and potentially cut, every government contract with Musk's companies. That's nearly $3 billion in federal deals suddenly hanging in the balance, a move that could devastate any business. SpaceX, a vital partner for NASA and the Department of Defense, now faced an uncertain future. The threat wasn't just about money, it was about the future of American space exploration and national security. Trump's message was unmistakable: cross him, and your business could pay the ultimate price. It was a warning to Musk, and to anyone else thinking of defying the administration. The pressure didn't stop there. Trump even withdrew the NASA nomination of Musk's ally, Jared Isaacman, sending a clear signal that personal loyalty mattered more than expertise or innovation. What began as a war of words had now escalated into a full-blown professional conflict, with both sides digging in and the stakes growing higher by the day. The administration drew a hard line. There was no middle ground. You were either with them, or you became a target. For Musk, and for the future of American innovation, the consequences of this feud were only just beginning to unfold. The battle lines had been drawn, and the outcome would shape not just their personal fortunes, but the direction of technology and business in the country. If Trump thought threats would silence Musk, he was wrong. Musk fired back, insisting his opposition was about fiscal sanity, not Tesla subsidies. He accused Trump of dishonesty and claimed credit for Trump's 2024 victory, saying his support was decisive. Then Musk went nuclear. He publicly called for Trump's impeachment, suggesting VP J.D. Vance as a replacement. The feud turned deeply personal, with Musk dredging up Trump's alleged ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Musk warned Trump's tariffs would trigger a recession by late 2025. He even floated the idea of starting a new centrist party to challenge Trump directly. Musk was no longer just a CEO, he was a political rival. The battle lines were drawn and the war was now public. The fallout was about to engulf the entire country. When Trump and Musk went to war, the economy felt it instantly. Tesla's stock crashed 15% in a single day, wiping out over $150 billion in value. Musk's personal fortune dropped by $34 billion overnight. The feud cast a shadow over all Musk's ventures: SpaceX, Neuralink, the Boring Company. Investors panicked, fearing government retaliation could cripple Musk's companies. The message to business leaders was chilling: political speech could cost you everything. The tech sector and business community took note. This was a dangerous precedent. CEOs now had to weigh their words against the risk of presidential wrath. The Trump-Musk feud blurred the line between politics and business. The cost of crossing the president had never been clearer. The entire landscape of American innovation was suddenly at risk. The Trump-Musk feud reached all the way to outer space. SpaceX, vital to NASA's Artemis moon mission, suddenly faced the threat of losing government contracts. Without SpaceX, America's return to the moon could be delayed for years. Boeing's Starliner wasn't ready, leaving NASA with few options. Musk, in a moment of brinkmanship, hinted he might decommission SpaceX's Dragon spacecraft, America's only ride to the ISS. The mere suggestion sent NASA into panic. The feud exposed the fragility of public-private partnerships in space. National security was at stake, with the military relying on SpaceX for satellite launches. The standoff forced a reckoning. Should America depend so heavily on one unpredictable CEO? The dream of a new era in space now hung by a thread. The future of US space leadership was suddenly uncertain, all because of a political feud back on Earth. So who's right, Trump or Musk? It's complicated. Musk raised real concerns about the national debt, sounding the alarm on reckless spending. He was hired to promote fiscal responsibility, and his warning resonated with many. But Trump's camp questioned Musk's motives, pointing to his history of benefiting from government contracts. Was Musk a whistleblower or a self-interested billionaire? Trump's use of government power to punish dissent was troubling. Musk's use of wealth and influence to challenge a president was equally unsettling. Both men crossed lines, leaving the public to wonder who, if anyone, was fighting for the common good. This wasn't good versus evil, it was a messy power struggle, and the consequences would ripple far beyond their personal feud. This feud isn't just political theater, it has real consequences for America. The economic fallout spooked investors and slowed innovation. Public-private partnerships, the engine of American progress, were suddenly in jeopardy. Companies grew wary of working with the government, fearing political retaliation. The fight damaged America's global reputation, making allies question our stability. Even NASA's international partners began to doubt US reliability. Most damaging of all, the feud eroded public trust in institutions. Americans saw leaders using power for personal battles, not public service. Cynicism grew, and faith in democracy weakened. The Trump-Musk saga became a cautionary tale. When egos clash at the top, the whole country pays the price. The long-term damage may be just beginning. As the dust settles, the Trump-Musk feud leaves us with big questions about power in America. Who really holds the reins, elected officials or billionaire CEOs? Should a president use government power to punish enemies? Should a billionaire use his fortune to sway elections and topple presidents? The feud exposed cracks in our system, where ego can override the public good. It's a warning. Leadership isn't just about power, but about responsibility. The future depends on leaders who put country before self. The Trump-Musk saga is a lesson in what happens when that balance is lost, and it's a reminder that the fate of democracy rests on more than just who wins the next fight.